On the night of Tuesday, November the 27th, 1979, Air New Zealand pilot Jim Collins was at his home in Auckland. The next day, he was flying a DC-10 to Antarctica, and that night he wanted to show his young daughters where he was going.
He showed both of us, we showed me anyway, that he definitely expected to fly down the sound. You'd see on the right the dry valleys, and then on the left Ross Island. And I remember him plotting things with instruments.
I remember him saying to me when he showed us the map that they would be flying, you know, south from New Zealand down a wide sound because they had the dry valleys on the right. So on the approach, he showed on the map the dry valleys, and I thought that was an unusual name.
What Jim Collins didn't know that evening was that someone in Air New Zealand's house in Lower Queen Street, Auckland, was changing the computerized navigation route. No one thought to tell Jim Collins. Which meant that when the DC-10 took off at 8:17 the next morning, November the 28th, 1979, the plane and its pilot were programmed to fly to different destinations. None of that mattered for most of the flight. Back in Auckland, the Collins family was having an otherwise ordinary day.
Occasionally during the day I thought about it. Oh, he must be just about down there now, and I wonder what he's seeing. But then I'd get on with picking somebody up to take to the birthday party and socialising and thinking I'd give the children early dinner so that when Jim came back we'd have this blue cod that he was going to pick up. But it was just an ordinary day like many others. It was a Wednesday, I think, from memory, and so it was no more extraordinary than any other Wednesday when he wasn't there.
I had a school science exam on the morning of the 29th, so I'd been swatting prior to that and then during the day. And I remember lunchtime, actually, on the 28th. I remember I was sitting outside having lunch, and I remember thinking at that time, Dad will be somewhere over the Antarctica, because it's about 4.5 hours down, 4.5 hours back, roughly. Middle of the day, they'd be down there somewhere.
But as we know now, the DC-10 never came home. By early evening, Maria Collins was starting to worry why she hadn't heard from her husband.
Normally he would ring and say, I'm at the airport now and I'll be home in half an hour. And I didn't get that call, which I expected at about, I don't know, about 5, 6 o'clock at night.
But then at about 7, she got a call from Air New Zealand management.
And Dave said to me, you know, the flight's delayed, are you on your own? And I said, well, I'm at home with the children. And he said, it might be an idea to get an adult to be with you. And I was really shocked at that.
But later that night, the Collins family heard the news everyone had been dreading.
They were sitting around the kitchen table, and I just remember Mum saying, they found the wreckage on the slopes of Mt Erebus and everybody's dead. I remember thinking, shit. It's like, it's just, you panic because you just think, no, it's a shock. Still, you know, thinking about it now, I still remember the shock.
And suddenly Maria Collins and her young daughters were hit by the thought, had their husband and father been responsible not only for his own death, but the deaths of 256 other people?
When I heard that Jim was missing, and then I heard they'd found the wreckage on the slopes of the mountain, I thought to myself then, what could he have been doing? How could he always knew that if he even scratched a plane, the company would be down on him like a ton of bricks, and that he damages a plane and kills himself, let alone the 256 other passengers and crew. What was he doing for that to happen? So my first reaction was always, what was he doing to have caused the plane to fail?
I'm Garry McAlpine, and this is Erebus Flight 901, Litany of Lies.